And then you and Casey Weathers, we can shout out Casey on this. You and Casey Weathers started a business. Will you tell us about that?
Yeah, and Jeff Marquez, too.
And Jeff, that's right.
Yeah, so shout out to Jeff.
Yeah, he just hit me up the other day, too. So that's
so
good.
Tony has some experience with Jeff, too, in our early career. We were both, with Tony over at the place across town. Casey.
I think it's cool that you went from like this time where in being a coach and a therapist with you when you were in the league.
Yeah.
And then seeing this 10-year run and how hard you worked from a young age up into through, like you said, through your 20s. And then now what you guys are doing with these young athletes, I have to feel like that's like awesome to give back. And they don't get to see you do it, but I can testify to how hard Ryan worked as an athlete, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're giving back to these young guys now in their development process.
That's you hit the nail on the head. I think that's one thing that I didn't see coming when I got into this is how much just teaching them how hard you have to work to be successful. And I think that goes with anything. Like on the flip side, I've seen how hard you worked, to get to where we're at. I see how hard Evan works every day, and that's why you guys are so successful in what you do too. But teaching these kids, hey, you have to work really hard. And just making them understand is more than any mechanic or any like pitch shape or anything I could do on a baseball side. And I didn't really expect that. So, that's kind of been the biggest thing that I could give back. It's like, man, I made it because, honestly, I could say, I made it because of one reason. It's the persistence. I wasn't going to give up, and I was willing to work for it. You know what I mean? I seen my father grow up as, doing plastering and like masonry and just how hard he worked. And I'm like, well, if I stop this, that's what I'm going to go do. And I'm going to have to work that hard anyway. So I might as well work hard at this,
Exactly.
And
throw some med balls around.
I just never thought, I never lost that. I'm not saying that I'm some motivational, like, hey, I'm the hardest worker ever, but I just looked at it as a kind of different point of view. Like it was never a job. I looked at, hey, if I fail at this, I'm going to have to go get a job, And I think that's what I try to tell the kids, like, take advantage of this window. You're playing a sport, and all I ask for you is really give it your all. Yep. And these kids are succeeding, I see a lot of turnaround in their personal life sometimes, they just get some direction and they work harder at their schoolwork. And, I think that's been what I've been really fortunate to give back.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's really, I think that's a cool, like, a side of strength and conditioning that's probably not well recognized, especially when you're working with youth from, whether it be high school kids or through college or whatever. But when you work with an athlete and you give them some focus and you demand more from them, athletically or from the body, I think that we've learned it over the years. Mm-hmm. You have to dive deep, figure out who you are, and I think that gives you tremendous confidence, and then you go succeed in something completely away from the sport, which is...
That's just a byproduct.
Yeah, which is such a huge win for what we all do.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And you always hear the best coaches, like Mike Krzyzewski always talks about. He's not a basketball coach. He's a coach for making good leaders and good young men for the future. So it is much more about the character of the person. Yeah. And that's what you've done, is you've created an environment. So talk a little about the environment that you've kind of set up down there.
Yeah, it's that, for lack of better words, it's, we create an environment that we push kids to be successful. And it's like, look, this is what's expected of you. And this is what the environment expects of you. It's kind of self-policed now, we incentivize, attendance and signing up and showing up on time. And, we penalize guys that miss their times or show up late and things like that. And it's funny how the ship just rights itself once there's a little bit of that.
Right.
And it's like now they start showing up on time. We instill some good habits with proper warm-up. We don't allow, kids to come in and just start doing stuff.
Yep.
And we're stickler on those little things. It's like you're going to do your warm-up and you're going to do it properly. You're going to do your recovery and you're going to do it properly. And it's like if we just start in those right places with those good habits, the rest of the work comes along. So.
And you made a great point there. It's not about yelling at them to get it done. It's about creating an environment where they see everybody else doing that. And when they don't do that, they're the weird one. They're the odd one out, and they don't get the time they want. And then you don't even have to say anything.
It's true. It's like the environment almost is like your dad when he's like, I'm not mad at you. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
And it's like they'd almost I'd almost rather them mad at me. You know what I mean? But they're just disappointed and they're not going to get mad. And it's like they just expect more of me.
Yep.
So they just do it. They start expecting more of themselves.
Yeah.
So it's a cool environment. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, the personal growth is amazing.
Right.